an article that talks about a future without cars. Tear down these 10 freeways and then tear down some more. This is all in America. Yeah, this gives you a visual image how Kidex might be a snake that crawls through the whole of PJ. Some people say very bad feng shui. Yeah, and the people, this is my last slide that I'll share. The people want green spaces, better public transport system, healthy property values, increased business volumes, sustainability and livability intangibles fulfilled, increased participative and consultative processes to be heard and to be given a chance to speak up with freedom of information and freedom of process. And this is one last slide, I promise. This is an alternative, point to point, shortened to 10.6 kilometers. At a price tag which was announced, 2.42 billion, announced by Kidex, it is equivalent to 228 million per kilometer. I understand from independent checking, MRT payout is 250 million. If they want to strike a win-win situation, even make it into a smart tunnel, collecting some of our stormwater detention into the bottom half of the tunnel, please, by all means, be our guest. But no need to give us any ramps up or down, no need to go and take people's houses away. Yeah, anybody who agree with that, please raise your hand or clap. Okay, thank you. Huh? Yeah, mission statement, alright? That's our mission statement. No Kidex at all costs, by all means. But you can see, we are not looking at just emotional issues. We have done the last, in fact, it was about 3 months of work before we really dared to send a memorandum to the MB. It was based on facts. The PIA did a lot to boost our position. Right, at this juncture, Mr. Mark has reminded me, YB Rafizi, would you please be invited to take a seat? I'd like to thank you again for granting us this opportunity to share with everyone, especially YB. YB, Gopi, if you like, please, come. Please. Everyone, okay, YB, Elizabeth Wong, YB Sivarasa, YB Rafizi has said that it will be good. I will vacate my seat so that you are seated here. Yeah, very brief introduction. Thank you again to YB Rafizi. It is through his assistant, I understand. And just for your information, this morning, YB Rafizi actually texted me a message and said, he just said, "Hi David, I'm Rafizi here." I thought somebody is pulling a joke on me. You know, but that's how he did it, very casual. And I'd just like to share with you, of course, YB Gobi, you know, I've said it already, April 7th, he was one of the first parliamentarian who came up and stated Selangor should reject Kidex. If you read somewhere, third paragraph, he actually talks about the pledge to abolish toll. He says, pledges are the very reasons that form the basis why voters vote for Pakatan Rakyat, and therefore they should not renege on promises, right? And to introduce YB Rafizi, 16th of April, he tweeted, "I am opposed to Kidex. I'm going to say no to Kidex," he said. On the 10th of June, YB Rafizi stated in one of the news portals, he calls for Pakatan to take a stand on Kidex. And then, just today, 18th of June, not related to Kidex, but I just want to congratulate parliamentarians and our elected representatives like YB Rafizi, who dare to speak up boldly. He actually had an article today, I believe, Konsesi Penswastaan UiTM Puncak Alam. Is that right, YB Rafizi? Yeah. So let's put our hands together and welcome them. If you've got any questions, I believe in interactive participation. Please come forward, take a mic from us, and shoot your question. But remember, we thank them because not everyone from Pakatan Rakyat government has not been taking a stand. Now, let's be mindful of that and ask our questions accordingly. Thank you.
Let's set a few parameters first before we start. You come forward here, state your name, state where you're from, and direct a question to the YB.
Or maybe, again, sorry, YB Rafizi, I've been reminded just to pass you the mic. Perhaps you can make some introductory statements, same with the other YBs.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi and very good evening. I actually requested for this session to engage with residents from PJ and in fact any areas that are affected specifically for Kidex. But I think the session is also important because toll highways and concessions are going to be having a lot of impact, not just in Damansara, in PJ, but also in all other areas in Selangor. In my constituency, of course, Colin is here just now, we have Suki Highway, as well as Kuala Lumpur Outer Ring Road floor, which will go from Bangi all the way to Gombak. I take personal responsibility especially because I predominantly wrote the manifesto. And obviously when people question the manifesto, at the very least I must come and listen. Where I can defend, I should defend. Where we should criticize our own state government, we should. At the same time, I think it's futile if it's completely all about pointing fingers to Tan Sri Khalid. I think the leadership of Pakatan Rakyat and the MPs and ADUN must take personal and collective responsibility because it is our government. And for that matter, I think if it's unfortunate that it's people like us who are against Kidex who have to be here tonight, because it would have been a lot better if Tan Sri Khalid is here, because he should hear it from yourself. Yet at the same time, I think, at least I feel personally, that I cannot just wash my hand and say this is Khalid Ibrahim's problem. It is Pakatan Rakyat's problem, and therefore we have, sorry? It is our problem, and therefore we have every responsibility, and it is our amanah to make sure that we see it through. Now, I just very quickly want to explain a few things. I don't think any party, not that I'm aware of, in Pakatan Rakyat has made a decision on Kidex. I hope you understand how, and YB Elizabeth Wong as an exco is here today. I hope you understand how the principle of separation between the parties and state government is adhered to in Pakatan Rakyat. The parties don't interfere. PKR did not make any position yet against or for Kidex, nor PAS, nor DAP. Yet as a coalition, and therefore by extension the state government, we must be governed by the promises that we made in our manifesto. At least that's what myself and Geobind thinks up. I mean, that's the very minimum to me that we should expect from a Pakatan Rakyat government and the state government. And our manifesto is very clear about our view that we must shift from reliance on private vehicles. I mean, thank you very much, David, and everyone for reminding that, because that, you know, it was 1 year ago, but it took a lot of time to really harness it and to put it in a policy. That we want, for example, to shift the focus from private vehicles to public transport. We are against monopolies, no matter what monopolies they are. We are against lopsided agreements in the form of concessions. We are not against development. I mean, I come from a corporate background. We go and we try as much as we could to make sure that development can run hand in hand with the aspirations of residents and people. Yet there are certain very clear rules as far as I'm concerned. Who are we? Whether you are elected representative, whether you are the majlis, whether you are exco or you are MP or you are Prime Minister, who are you to decide this is good for the people unless you listen genuinely to the people who are? I have no preference to say I'm against highways or I'm for highways. I'm open. Yet the due process we must make sure that the due process is carried out properly. And therefore, in the case of Sukiai, in the case of Kidex, in the case of Dash, I know that we inherit a system of government from Barisan Nasional. And it is from the old days where government knows best and government always talks down to the public that this is good for you and just swallow. I think we have to change. And people voted us to change it, especially in areas like Selangor, PJ, and I don't even want to comment on all your points that you circulate, because I do agree with all your points. But whether Kidex brings benefit to PJ residents or not, it is a subject to a transparent and independent due process that my expectation of a state government, at the very least, our state government could have initiated that due process, even though it was never practiced under Barisan. So in the case of Suki, for example, my experience in Bandar, of course adjacent to Bandar Tun Razak, so please don't fire me for what happens in Bandar Tun Razak. Sometimes when you meet people, there are clusters of people who are for or against Suki, for example. I've met them personally. There are people who feel that it will benefit their neighborhood. There are people who feel no. Who am I to say, or which side to take on? At the end of the day, therefore, there must be a very transparent and inclusive mechanism by which the state government and local authorities are able to gauge majority of the people whether or not they feel they want such highways in their residence area. If, for example, 70% of the residents affected by Kidex in PJ, in Puchong, in Bandar Utama, in spite of everything that is presented to them, believe that it is not good for them, I think we have to leave them alone. That's my opinion. Because we cannot impose what we think is good or bad for the public. Even though Tan Sri Khalid or anyone thinks that highway is good, even though it really will reduce congestion by 40%, 50%, if there is a transparent process that engages everyone and eventually accepted by the resident as the voice of the public, if the public believes that they don't want the project, and I think we have to take heed of the view. Everything else, I think, is a subject of discussion and debate, because there's always two sides of the coin. I don't come here to defend or to be scrutinized, for example, whether we are for toll highways or not, whether we are 100% against toll collection or not. Our objection is on lopsided agreements. A question of whether it's toll or not is a question of financing model. Sometimes you can actually have toll, provided that the toll rate is fair to the public and subject to certain conditions. For example, full recovery of investment, after which it should return to the public. So I think all the rest, whether it should be toll, whether it's everything is secondary to the most important element of governance under Pakatan Rakyat, which is you have to consult and to listen to the public. Because and that will be my stand, whether you like it or not. My concern is if the state government continues to inhabit and put in practice the manner that Barisan Nasional ignore specific consultation in deciding whether or not a project should be approved, and therefore we are not that much different from Barisan Nasional. My concern is the state government must come out with an acceptable mechanism to make sure that we overhaul the way that we do all this engagement, approval of project, so that the engagement takes place before the initial approval is given. The way it is done now is a concession company or a federal agency will apply directly to the state agencies of state government. The discussion takes place at the top. usually the initial approval will be given first without that much involvement of public consultation. By the time groups like Kidex and Say No to Kidex and the rest come forth to be engaged, usually by that time an initial approval has been given, usually. Because that's how the end has managed such process in the past all along. I want to make sure at least, and this is what I will personally undertake to bring to the state government, that we look and completely overhaul that process, so that the engagement with the public takes place before the initial approval is given. Now I want to end with only this. I sit in the Pakatan Rakyat Leadership Council. I have stated before that Pakatan Rakyat will have to make a stand on Kidex and by extension on other highways as well, in principle, but more so on Kidex, at least for the time being. I promise you that it will be an agenda in Pakatan Rakyat Leadership Council when it convenes very soon, and this will be escalated. And I hope that the state government will respect whatever the decision that Pakatan Rakyat makes, even though it may be different, or even though we have always honored the separation of power between the parties and the state government. But we are also accountable to the public, and therefore I think hopefully once this process goes through all the way to Pakatan Rakyat Leadership Council and it is deliberated, if there is a decision for the state at least to go back and engage the public, and I hope the state government will respect that. My advice to you is to continue to fight and resist and explain and engage, and as much as you do that and build up the pressure outside, I hope Geobind, Siva, Ali, Rajiv and all our friends internally will do our part as well internally, hopefully, so that we can decide together on Kidex and after this on all the other highways as well in Islam. If you manage to effect a change in decision on Kidex, I think it's going to be the first time that a public participation in the decision-making process of the government, and hopefully it will become a precedent in the future. My personal opposition to Kidex is because I know this is going to enrich another bunch of UMNO cronies, another 2 or 3 days. So apart from all the fact that it's going to be noisy, it's going to take away the livelihood of people in PJ, I cannot stomach taking more money from the public to enrich the already rich UMNO. Because every day we spend our days fighting these people and fighting this kind of concessions and agreements. And I feel that we are duty bound, at least in whatever that is within our power. If we can stop another of such concessions, we should. And I want to end by reminding everyone, including myself and our elected reps here, that in November 2013, about 6 months ago, at the very height of the toll hikes issue, going into 2014, federal government wanted to increase toll hikes. Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim issued a specific press release and instruction to everyone, to the public and Pakatan Rakyat leadership, that our state government must exercise every power within its purview to compel the federal government to make sure that every contract must be based on open tender. Any project that is not based on open tender, by discipline, by value, by right, we should have exercised every power to put a stop. Datuk Seri Anwar reminded, for example, that we are in a position to impose conditions. In the case of highways, for example, we are in a position to impose conditions that unless the concession company and the highway authority make public fully the concession agreement beforehand, the state government will never approve. Because all along, for the last 30 years, from every highway, we have been fighting secret concession agreements that none of us can have access to. If I have a copy and I show it to the public, obviously I will, but they will charge me with OSA, for example. So Datuk Seri Anwar has reminded over and over again for our state government to use every power within our jurisdiction to make a change and a difference to the way that Barisan has done it all along. And I personally feel that we have that power. What I need from you now is to remind everyone else in Pakatan Rakyat that you voted us to make that difference so that Geobind and myself and our colleagues in Pakatan internally can do the job and you can do the job from outside. Thank you very much. I think we will meet again next time.
Thank you. YB Geobind, you want to say a few words?
Yes. Thank you very much. To me, it's really a question of governance. It's really a question of the government in Selangor showing the people that we are different from Barisan Islam. Showing those people who voted for us that we will listen to them. So we have a problem here, and that problem I think all of us here can clearly see. If I were to ask you a straightforward, direct question now, are you satisfied with the leadership of Tan Sri Khalid? No! And that is the question, isn't it? That is the issue, that is what you want to say. When we have problems like this, when we have problems, you don't need a Menteri Besar. You don't need a Menteri Besar who says to the people, our promise to abolish toll was only federal level, not state. So it's okay, never mind, I just give up. You give in without even a fight. You don't want to listen to your people. When your people ask you for a meeting, what do you say? I'm not a politician, I'm a professional. I'm the politician. So, we as members of parliament, we as state assemblymen, we must take responsibility. When I hear and I see what has happened in this issue, and of course there are many other issues I think we can talk about as well, but let us restrict it to this. Now I think it's a question which relates solely to how it is Tan Sri Khalid Ibrahim as Menteri Besar has dealt with this issue. And I think if he does not change the way he behaves, his style, I think we in Pakatan Rakyat will lose in Selangor in the next election. And this is the reason why we have to be brave. All MPs, ADUNs in Pakatan Rakyat. The reason why we are different is because if our leaders do not do it right, then we will stand up and tell them that you're not doing it right. Listen to the people and get it right. And I think that is what the people want to see. So, no difficulty about it. And this is the reason why I have come up with statements most of you all have read, most of you all have heard, and I will continue. We will carry on doing that because I want to make sure that if we win government in Putrajaya in 2018, I want to make sure that it is a government that will work for the people, will listen to the people, and will be accountable to the people. That is what we want to see. This is the change that we promised. And my message to Tan Sri Khalid is very simple. We want to support a Menteri Besar who performs. We want to support a Menteri Besar who listens. We want to support a Menteri Besar who is humble enough to listen to the views of the people, especially those who are affected. Now, whether or not he is that Menteri Besar, I want him to think carefully and answer. And I think most of you all here already have those answers, that answer in your mind. So ladies and gentlemen, rest assured, the fight against Kidex, I stand firm behind you. We will carry on the fight. And let us see where it goes.
Let me clear there. There is no connectivity for Puchong with this Kidex highway. No, Pindara is different, Puchong is different. There is no connectivity. And we know, we asked for a diamond shape connectivity for Pindara. They are giving us down to elite, down to side, cannot come out. There is no diamond shape. So we know that. We were there at the Kidex meeting also. We called upon why we Sivarasa to get over.
Thank you, Salva. Good evening to all of you. Now, let me start by qualifying a little bit what Rafizi said when he started off correctly by saying that there is a separation between the state government and the party. That's correct. But having said that, we are also, when I say we, the parties in Pakatan Rakyat, are also responsible for the policies of the state government. The state government's policies cannot contradict what Pakatan Rakyat stands for. That's clear. So let's be clear about that. So, and that's why we're here tonight. We are here also as your elected reps, representing our parties, to come here and take responsibility. That's why we're here, and to listen to all of you. And so let's start from that position of principle. That's our responsibility as well. We have a problem. I'm not saying we don't have a problem. We have a problem. Because the Menteri Besar has expressed certain views. But those views do not necessarily represent the views of Pakatan Rakyat. They don't. And at this point, clearly they don't. So that is the situation we are dealing with. Some of us prefer to advise him privately, which we have done. Some of us have advised him publicly, because there are ways to do this. But let us also remember one thing. I know there's a lot of anger about the project, not just Kidex, about the other highways as well, Dash, which is coming through parts of Subang Parliament, Suki, and various things. And all these are emanating from the public, from the so-called master plans drawn up by the Malaysian Highway Authority, the federal agencies which are basically putting all this together without any consultation. So, I know there's a lot of anger, but let me also say this. I know Gobind said we may lose Selangor. Yes, we may. But giving the state back to Barisan National is only going to make sure the highways get built. Let's be clear about that. But hang on. So I'm not suggesting that. Because that is the, let's put it bluntly. Right now we are between a rock and a hard place. Isn't that true? But it is our responsibility to fix the problem. That's why we came here tonight. Okay, we came here tonight to listen to you and to fix the problem. We owe it to you to fix the problem. Alright, so let's see how we go about doing that. So we go back to first principles. And some of that has been said by my colleagues who spoke earlier. Rafizi, Gobind. Consultation is primary. And obviously that process has to be implemented thoroughly. So what I am going, we have advised the Menteri Besar. We have advised him, first of all, this is not a Selangor project. This is not a Pakatan project. This is a Barisan National project. Call it that every time we talk about it. Somehow he forgets. This is not our project. This is a project being forced down our throats from the Barisan National. Describe it that way. Hold on. That's his language. Hold on. So now, I agree. We'll have to deal with it. So, And as we pointed out, the state government has powers it can use to put conditionalities on that project, which have to be in line with our Pakatan policy. So, and this is what has to be done. We have told him that. We have said, impose those conditionalities. Rafizi has mentioned some of them. Basic things which are part of our manifesto. You must have an open tender. That's the financial model. But even before you get to the financial model, first of all, whether these highways are justified in the first place. There has to be a discussion. Why do we swallow hook, line and sinker these proposals for the 7 highways coming from the federal government? Whose plan is it? What's the logic behind the plan? Show it to the people. Defend that first. That's not for us to defend. It's for the federal government to come and defend that plan. We haven't even seen that. Kidex is just one part of that plan. Suki, Dash are all part of that plan. There are 7 highways they're planning to build all over the Greater Klang Valley. What's the logic? Why aren't we talking about a proper public transport infrastructure along the lines of the manifesto? So we have advised the Menteri Besar, this is the time to create that discussion. That is what this should be for. And to engage the public in that discussion. Not accept the premises of that proposal, lock, stock and barrel. That's what we shouldn't be doing. So, go back to those basic discussions like what we saw earlier. What kind of public transport system do we want for the Klang Valley? Go back to that. It is not the state government's responsibility to build it. Yes, that's correct. Because we don't have the resources. It is the federal government's responsibility. But we can create a discussion. And we ought to create the discussion because of what we're seeing now with Kidex, with Dash and so on. We have told him that. And we will keep telling him that. And we will have to make it happen. So the consultation, as far as I'm concerned, this is my personal view on it, is not just about the benefits of Kidex per se. It has to be a discussion about the whole package. Because ultimately, we don't want to be caught with one group of residents saying, I will benefit, and I want it, and the other group says, I'm going to be stuck with something. We can't be having that. We need to have a comprehensive approach to the whole problem. That discussion has to happen. The utility, in other words, as what somebody said earlier, instead of building a highway there, that line should be protected and preserved in case we want to do a railway, an MRT or an LRT or whatever. Then I think people are prepared to sacrifice some discomfort, some sacrifice if that is proven to be in the public benefit. But again, that discussion must happen. What is the best options we have? That's what we have to organize. Then we come to the financial model. Who's going to pay for it? How do we build it? And we certainly don't agree with this model, where you give it to a crony company, direct negotiation, we don't know the rates, we don't know the tolls, we don't know the period, no way. And that's what we've already said. So these are the discussions. Our problem right now is that that's not happening. I agree. And that's why you're all here tonight, to remind us that that has to happen. And that's what we have to deliver. Okay? I just want to conclude by sharing some observations from 2 key leaders in Pakatan, the president of Parti Keadilan Rakyat, and I think that's already the document which was given to me, and Dato' Wan Haniza has told the Menteri Besar, and this is important, she says, Kidex should be reviewed as it involves policy considerations. She has told him that. Anwar Ibrahim has also tweeted, apart from what he said earlier in November, just a few days ago. It's just a short tweet to remind the Menteri Besar. And there's just 5 key words in that short tweet. Listen and review. 2 keywords, listen and review. He's already told him that. So it's up to us now to make sure that happens. Yeah. So that's back to it. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that it will happen, but you know how it works in politics. If you're not in line with the policies, then you go. And you know, nobody is indispensable in this process. Neither myself, Geobind, Rafizi, Anwar Ibrahim, none of us are indispensable. And if somebody has to go, that person has to go. But we rather, what should happen, the policy issues have to be handled. And I repeat again, the consultations on two levels. One is, what is the public transport system that we want, what kind of livable environment we want, not just in PJ, because we cannot just look at PJ in isolation, we have to look at the greater Klang Valley. We have to do that. Yeah? And the second is, how are we as citizens of this country, how do we find the resources and to make that happen? You know, that's the discussion. Every one of you are important stakeholders in that discussion. So, coming back to Kidex, specifically, that process of consultation must take place. But frankly, I think from the little we know of the project, nobody is convinced that it's going to bring any benefits. Because we all know, you build more highways, it's going to be more congestion. We're not really answering the public transport concerns. So that's where we are. And I mean, the public have to keep up your voice. You have to, and I think this is going to be the pattern for the future. The constant engagement between citizens actively and the government. To keep government on its toes, to tell government when it's wrong, and to stop and make it change its mind according to what you want. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, keep your questions ready. They're coming to you just after 2 people. YB Rajiv?
Very good evening, everyone. I think it's a bit late. People are starting to leave, so I'll keep it very short. I think you've heard from me the most over the last few months, so I'll give chance to YB Elizabeth Wong to have a bit more time to speak to you. This has been a very long process. We started off, Mr. Tan, back in September last year with the first protest between Section 17 and Section 19 residents at the space at Jalan Harapan. When we was first highlighted the issue of the notice gazetting the 3,000 over lots for acquisition. And since that process until now, we have demonstrated in Pakatan Rakyat that we can speak up for the residents, and we will speak up for the residents even if it goes against the Chief Minister of the state. There's a long way to go, but we have emphasized, and I think when we talked earlier about amending the local plan for approval, that has not been done. In fact, your MPPJ councillors have put a stop to that, alright, back in February, and that stop has not been lifted by your MPPJ councillors as Kidex has not demonstrated. In worse still, Kidex own PIA that they have submitted recently, unfortunately, very badly done, that they themselves prove to everyone that this highway is going to have only a very tiny impact on PJ road traffic, and only a 3 to 5% reduction. If this road does not help PJ, this road causes so much disruption to PJ, so much upheaval to the people of PJ, it does not make sense for this highway to continue. We will continue to speak up. We are not afraid. We all make time to come out here tonight. Thank YB Rafizi for coming all the way from Pandan to be with us, to join in this battle. And I think I would like to congratulate the committee of Say No to Kidex and all the residents. I think this has become the #1 public participation, public objection, public engagement project with regards to engaging the government with regards to speaking out against the project and coming the closest to actually torpedoing a Barisan National Crony project. So hats off to you guys.
Can I add to what YB Rajiv said by just saying one word? This is the UBA we voted for. YB? Elizabeth?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rafizi, and also our friends from No to Dash for inviting me over. Principally, my role here is to listen to everyone and to bring it back to the Menteri Besar. But at the same time, just in case people don't know, both Sivarasa and I actually are representing affected residents as well at the Bandar Utama section where the start of Kidex will be. And if not for the first public, it was not public meeting, I think it was called a town hall meeting, which did not go through. If not for all your efforts, none of the PJ parliamentarians or even ADUNs, including myself, would have gotten preliminary information on the traffic assessment, on the preliminary EIA and other information. So actually I would like to thank everyone who made the company Kidex give us those information. And at the same time, although I sit in the expo, we talk about Kidex, I would say almost every week. Because we know that this is an important issue. This is a very hot issue. It has affected most of the people in Petaling Jaya. And I can say for certain that despite being given a brief from Kidex just last week, because I asked for it, I said, I don't know anything about Kidex, you have to tell me so that I can inform the residents. But from the very little that they have informed me, I can only say that for Bandar Utama, it will only bring in more traffic, just like the other parts of Petaling Jaya. So, of course, I will bring those information to Bandar Utama. The residents have to make their own decisions. They have enough engineers and traffic consultants living there as well. But principally, Sivarasa and I will also say no to Kidex in Petaling Jaya. You have my word for that. The second thing is, I think this issue is something which the state takes very, very seriously. Now to put on the state hat. And this is where you can throw the bricks at me. If not, we will not be talking about it all the time and giving feedback during expo meetings about what the public perception, what the public protests are all about when it comes to Kidex. From traffic to other issues that are principally in the document that was passed around. I have been telling people that at the rate things are going, I personally would not want to see Kidex in Petaling Jaya. The state government, we've talked about in our manifesto, we're talking about the Selangor Pakatan Rakyat manifesto, we talked about quality of life. And quality of life does not mean having elevated highways going past in front of your houses. I think we can all agree on that. We agree on better public transportation, which in fact is very, very lacking. We want more green spaces. We want a place where people are safe. And I'm a cyclist. I don't drive. I want to be able to cycle in Petaling Jaya one day and not cycle on a highway. So these are things that we from Pakatan Rakyat, even when we are sitting in the expo meetings, these are the things we discuss about. I'm glad to see our former expo, Ronnie Lim, here. He also shares, I'm sure, the same opinion, how Selangor should be developed. One thing that stands out from this, the protest from Kidex, is that the state is now reviewing all highways that have been scheduled to be built in Selangor. So it is not just about Kidex. We have asked Malaysian Highway Authority to show us the total plan. So it also includes Sungei, Dash, Skip, EKVE. Unfortunately, I have to chair a meeting next week on EKVE. There will also be other new highways, the West Coast Highway. That one is particularly long. And also extensions, for example, extensions to the Ulu Klang Highway, extensions to Duke Highway, so on and so forth. So we have asked the Malaysian Highway Authority to give us the total plan. But at the same time, I've also asked the Pakatan Rakyat leadership, primarily from PKR, from Keadilan, including Datuk Sri Anwar, to give us also some policy decisions. I disagree that the party is removed from the state government. I think a policy decision is important. Do we have toll highways, or do we have fair rates for tolls? What would be our position? That would give some guidance. Government, and I think that's important. The last point, sorry, I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time. The last point that I've heard is that people want to see our Menteri Besar. I agree with that. Our Menteri Besar, in fact, has never shied away from, situations where perhaps the responses have been adverse. I mean, I give you the example, he's gone for very heated, very, I would say, not friendly meetings. For example, the people who dragged a cow head. He went and met 300 angry people. And he did. And I'm confident that he will come and meet you. And I will make sure that he does that. I don't think it's not a case of he's trying to shy away, but he has informed us in the expo that he wants to actually know more details about the project before he meets the residents. Last but not least, YB Sivarasa said that our president, Datuk Sri Dr. Haniza, has asked us to listen to the people and to review. And she added one more point, that whatever decision that the state government makes, it must think of the people first. So I take that point and I go to the exco meeting with my other fellow expos from Keadilan, and we push that point. So thank you very much for making your voices heard. In fact, I do not see this stopping at Kidex. I think this may revolutionize the way private highways, or even whether it's private or public projects, would be constructed or built in Selangor. That we have to get feedback, we have to engage, we have to listen. I think that these are the points that I will take back to the expo, and especially to Tan Sri Kandi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, all my on behalf of Say No to Kidex, any credit of where Say No to Kidex is today belongs to David Wong and Mark. Please give them a round of applause. Owner of vehicle WLJ 9723. WLJ 9723. Can you please see your car is blocking somebody? Open for questions.
Thank you. I'm Alvin from Damansara Perdana. This is to YB Sivarasa and YB Elizabeth. You walked with us 2 years ago in April 2012 in Damansara Perdana to protest Dash, and we thank you for making your stand. My question right now is, after the promises and the pat on the back that your fellow colleagues have made just now, right? Why are we still here today? 2 years ago, you promised, you heard from us, you knew about Dash. Sorry, you knew about Dash, right? The residents came up. I think there were a few hundreds of them, people of Damansara Perdana, right?
That's right.
Okay, so why are we here today then? What have you done all these 2 years before the general election? As far as the residents of Damansara Perdana is concerned, both of you have kept quiet until recently Kidex became a hot issue, and Kidex has graciously lent their support, right, and advice to Dash. So to me,
The statements just now are all empty promises again, that you will do something, that you will consult the Menteri Besar, right? And the pat on the back is definitely uncalled for. I'm sorry to say we are very disappointed. This is an appraisal of your performance as well, right? We, the people of Damansara Perdana, were left basically unattended for the past 2 years. We were struggling. We don't even know what to do. We went to you, we sent email, we sent Twitter, Facebook, we were screaming on top of your lungs. Is this the role of a Wakil Rakyat? We sent you to the parliament, we sent you to the state government, right? It is not our role to come and tell you that, hey look, there's a problem in Damansara Perdana, in PJ, in Bandar Utama. It is your role to come and tell us that, hey look, I noticed something is wrong that may affect the place that you stay, that may affect you financially.
Thank you very much. Point is taken.
Thank you.
Point is taken. David, I'm sorry, Mark, you want to ask a question or you want to ask a question? The lady here wants to ask a question.
Can we just have people lining up here? Right here. Please line up here so that you all can take a turn.
Why please, I think we will do it this way. We will take all the questions and then we will answer. It makes it easier. Right.
I'm Fu from Jasmine Towers. Actually, I have a good... It's on? Yeah. For the last few weeks, from what I heard, the Menteri Besar keeping quiet and then saying later that he agreed only in principle, that sort of thing. Actually, he has shot himself in the foot. And I feel that I think he is an unknown man, back to unknown man. I look at it, and that is how I look at it. So, the fact that he is such a coward, has not dared to see us, there have been so many meetings, I hope he hears it. Thank you.
I just want to ask one question. Why is it that after all the information that has been provided by the committee for saying no to Kidex, even if they haven't come up and done this job, any moron looking at the impact that the highway will have on the residents of PJ, any moron would not approve this project. I agree with the gentleman from DEC just now. It is your job, YBs, to come and tell us, do you know? But you are sitting there and asking us to come to you. Yeah. You are sitting there, elected representatives who should be on the ground, doing your job, walking the talk that you talked about prior to the elections. It is you who should be coming and conscientizing us and telling us, do you know that this is happening in your backyard? So please, wake up and walk the talk.
Thank you, YB. I actually would like to support the two previous speakers. While I totally agree with the principle of public participation, we do not need public participation to reject this project on the basis of the facts that we have before us. It is clear, right? Sure, we need to have public participation, but the facts speak for themselves. We don't need to go through an exercise of, listening to everybody and all sides. The facts speak for themselves. I think it is also very clear that sometimes politicians may be manipulating the situation to try and say that there is a need for Kidex because the people of Puchong or Kinrara require Kidex. The people of Puchong and Kinrara may require a solution to their traffic problem, but that solution is not Kidex. It is your responsibility to sit down to figure out a solution that they need, that we are very sympathetic to in Petaling Jaya, but it cannot be a highway on steroids running through our neighborhood. A double-deck highway on existing, well-established residential neighborhoods. Highways run around neighborhoods, not through them, and not 5 meters from 2 long-established schools, endangering our children. And I have a question, really. I'm not shocked to hear that you haven't received all the documents, the TIA and so on and so forth, but how on earth did MTES approve Kidex in principle? How on earth did MTES approve Kidex in principle without the documents in front of it? This, as you know, has already been the subject of a freedom to information request. We eagerly await the outputs from that request, but really I think this is something that the State Exco or MTES has to answer for. It's not just Khalid Ibrahim, it was also approved by MTES.
Thank you. My name is Abdul Kadir. I am from SS20. And my MP is Mr. Tony Pua. And IYP is you. And I had a lot of quarrels with Tony about this project. It was all in under private. And he knows my feelings. And the only thing I'm disappointed with him was that why his opposition to this Kidex long time ago, which should have done it. So finally he did it, it's fine. Now the question is, I'm so disappointed with Selangor Executive Committee for remaining silent for this issue, not telling the people how this decision was made, why it was made, what kind of involvement they had, why we pay you salary. We pay your salary to look after interest. What is the job? The problem is that leadership quality is poor. The leadership quality about all the SACO, the ADUN, as well as the EXCO, as well as the MP, is completely incompetent. Probably that's my view. So I heard about this Kidex from David. He came 1 month ago to my area and explained to me. I look at it, this is silly. Why would anybody want to do this? Very simple. I look at it, idiots. Whoever doing this idiot. I mean, why would you need this highway through a populated PJ, mature city? You don't need. You need to find some other innovative ways to move people around. Did they talk about it? They're only thinking about money. And why is that? Why this executive committee allowed MP to proceed with this project, let him progress this project without putting a stop to it? Why? That's about incompetency of the executive committee. That's my feeling. So
Thank you, sir. Point taken.
Yes, all right, Mr. Salva. What I'm saying, I'm going to finish my comment. Okay, I'm going to finish my comment, and thank you. I think I'm really amazed with David and Mark's commitment to this cause. Without this side working, and this would not have happened. I am sure this will be finished. This Kidex is gone forever. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Charles Borek. I'm a resident of Section 14, Petaling Jaya. Now, I have several questions. I'll try to be fast. First and foremost, is it within the power of various state assembly persons here, and perhaps even parliamentarians, or maybe state assembly persons, to move a motion in the state assembly at this point in time to oppose Kidex? And, I mean, why cannot you guys, if you really support us, get together fellow state assembly persons and move a motion? Even if you lose, never mind. But at least give it a try. Yeah. Okay? And if you are going to get rid of the bloody Khalid, if you have to kick him out to save your souls in the next general elections, do it. I mean, he has shown himself to be arrogant. He has not listened to us. He has told us, refused to listen to our protest. That means he does not respect our democratic rights. And in your speeches here, I see you don't seem to raise this issue of democratic rights. if we the residents, never mind if we disagree with something, if we just do not want something, you should just press, if the majority of people do not want something, that is the democratic right, respectively. Also, the second question goes to Yang Muhammad Rafizi, who you raised this issue about, oh, now we have to listen to the rakyat, but you had 6 years as in rule in Selangor to do that. Why did you even begin to do some of that? You know, why didn't you even begin to do that? Begin to change some of your processes. I mean, anything, even consultation processes. I mean, you take, for example, like you, Elizabeth Wong, you are in charge of environmental matters. Now, you bring in this no plastic bag on Saturday issue. In Selangor, it is, in my opinion, it is just a token measure to show people, hey, we are doing something about the environment. Personally, it's a useless, ineffective token measure. What I'm more interested to see is why not introduce recycling campaigns, get supermarkets to take back used plastic bottles, put bins in supermarkets, glass, paper, tin cans, you know, and institute this, put more, educate people. You put the can here, you put this here, put that there, you know, so, you know, like me, the other day I wanted to dispose of some old broken down computer waste, you know, keyboards, broken down keyboards, things like that. Where do I take them? You know, all these things. And you go to the dustbin. Oh, looks so nice. You got beside glass, paper, this, metal, this, you go look inside. It's one common dustbin. Where do you put your disposable batteries? So why don't you do things that are more productive and have this useless no plastic bag on Saturday, which only inconveniences a lot of people. Of course, if you want to go so far as to abolish plastic bags or introduce some other kind of thing, whether it's cloth bag or paper bag or whatever it is, do it please. Or maybe insist on recyclable or biodegradable plastic or whatever you want, please do it, you know, or some kind of measure, but it's useless, you know, but it's imposed upon us with no consultation. So this is what I mean. Okay, I think I will shut up now and then somebody else.
I'd like to remind everybody, we are on the topic of Kidex. Not Rajiv, please.
That was just an example.
Taken.
MC, please allow me. I'm going to raise something as, I would say, off topic, not of Kidex. Would you please allow me, please? Because it's very difficult for me to meet my ADUN and my MB, and I got a chance. Would you please allow me, my humble appeal to you?
Who is the ADUN and who is the MB?
YB Elizabeth Wong and YB Sivarasa. May I have the chance, please? Thank you. YB Lily, I believe you recognize me, right? Now we are here to oppose Kidex, and we are opposing Dash. The next thing we're going to oppose is the Sky Garden in Damansara Pradana. It's going to be the biggest in Southeast Asia, I believe, and it's encroaching to the temple's land that I'm tiredly supporting as a volunteer. We have met YB. Do you remember me, YB? Yes, you don't. But today we got the chance to meet here. We have worked tirelessly to the Selangor state government since 2008. Nothing less than 20 written requests with acknowledgement, but there isn't even one reply. YB, we do not disclose this because our silence is a matter of support to Pakatan Rakyat. But we feel very sad. YB have actually said that the land was gazetted for the temple, but it's actually not until to date. YB Geobind, I'm a niece of Silver Yik. I get her to approach you as well. That is not my temple, that's the people's temple. And this temple belongs to the Federation of Kwangsiu for Lumbu Temple. And a lot of charity has been carried out in Damansara Pradana. Not only that, in KL and whatnot.
But the latest plan that we saw, that the developer submitted to the Malaysian Highway Authority, they actually encroached more than half of the temple land. Why did you know that? Actually, YB Lily is very generous. She supported the temple, to be honest. She donated 5,000 ringgit to the temple. That is the fact. But we have been writing constantly to them. Nobody applied. All state ESCO, all member of Parliament of Selangor, nobody replied, not even one letter.
Miss, I'm a very pious person. I'm 100% with you for the temple. Point taken. Two taken.
But
YB Elephant Wong has made a personal request. Come see her after the meeting. She will discuss it.
Thank you very much. I've got 3 points to make. The first point is, I'm not going to elaborate too much on this point, that most of our ADUNs are no longer young Buktiman. They are too important now, hardly we can see them. Correct. And the other thing is, they are even appointing councillors that work against the people. So I think you all have to look very carefully at the appointment of councillors when you should actually be having an election of councillors. First point. Second point, thank you very much, Robin. You made a quick decision, you took a quick stand. Just to let you all know, all of us citizens are watching our ADUNs very carefully. Those people who delay their decisions, looking for the political wind to blow, then they will make their decisions be known. Alright? The third thing is, now we are very thankful, Rafizi, you hit the nail on the head. You say that public consultation is very important. And it's true. Even the federal government thinks it's very important. And they have come out with a guideline. It's called the standardization of guidelines for public consultation. It came out yesterday, and it's a discussion paper now. When we look at the guidelines that they've given, Kidex has fallen short of every point of it, like what you have said earlier on. The first thing that the guidelines say is, consultation should start at the very beginning, so that the people that are affected can influence the decision. The decision may not be Kidex. We could spend the money profitably elsewhere. But no, we are not even given anything until after gazettement, then they start the consultation. So that is really not right. So over here it says, principle number 1, transparency with accessibility. The public must be shown what the project is, how it's going to affect them, and the scope. So this is something that has been accessible to them, which it wasn't given. Number 2 principle is accountability. Whatever the inputs that are given by the public, you should come back to us and say whether the input is workable or not workable. Now, most of the local councils especially invite us for public consultation, and then after that chuck everything away. That is not accountable and it's not within the guidelines. Commitment. A lot of the people will not be committed to this process, and they will sabotage it. It is up to you leaders to make sure that at the EXCO level, at the ADUN level, at the council level, that this right to participate is not sabotaged. I can tell you, even councillors sabotage this. The other one is inclusiveness that is equitable. Kidex Highway is not just about the rich people who is objecting to it also. It's affecting the poor people as well. By the money you spend on the highway, you're driving them with the public transport which they can afford. But now you're making things more difficult. So they are a stakeholder that is not represented here as well. So you have to be very aware of that as well. Then after that it says, timely and informative. At all points, when we are in discussion with Kidex, you must be giving us the information freely. But now, a lot of information is being held, and I think YB Elizabeth, we can do much more with the Freedom of Information Act. You did a good thing in implementing it, but there is no education and no involvement of the people to start making use of that. Lastly, the next principle is integrity and mutual respect. All of these things must be done with integrity, and there must be mutual respect. And I don't see the mutual respect coming in until there's enough force by the people. So my challenge is this. We have come to a point where we do not like to hear the words of the politicians. We want to see the actions. We may be a little bit late with Kidex right now, but we will still have this consultation. But we are not late with Dash and the other highways.
Thank you. Thank you.
Will you stand up and institutionalize the discussion structure, the public consultation structure as given by these guidelines? If you do it, then we know that you're trying to solve problems. If not, then we know that you're just trying to make us depend on you to solve problems on an ad hoc basis. So our challenge is this: institutionalize public discussion and get local council election going.
I address this question to Gopi. I read in the news report that in answer to your question and Wadi Leroy Sen's question in Parliament, the Works Minister said, if public feedback is in the negative, the project cannot go on. Did he say that? One. If he has said that, then he has to keep his word to Parliament. Two, he mentioned preconditions. He mentioned three conditions for Kidex to meet. Now he mentioned two, financial and public feedback.
Oh, okay.
What are the other preconditions? Can you extract it from him in the next sitting? We want to know. On the one hand, a PN minister can say if public feedback is in the negative, project won't go on. We have here an MP who is from the PK, from Pakatan Rakyat, seemingly saying it will go on, come rain or shine. I couldn't care less. It was reported that he will only make available, he will only disclose information when decisions have been made. What's the use? What is consultation? Maybe Elizabeth Wong, you're in Expo, I suppose? Yeah? Tell that to the MP. What's the use of the Freedom of Information Act? Even if it is classified as Official Secret Act, as too late, terhad, whatever, under Section 2C of the OSA, it can be declassified by the Menteri Besar himself. Don't push it to the LLM to say this is LLM's document, I can't declassify it. It's rubbish. I say it's bullshit, and I repeat again, it's bullshit. Right? Now, supposing it is an exempted information under your Freedom of Information Act, it can still be disclosed if the public interest outweighs the prejudice. You know that. Why all the secrecy? If Kidex is so damn good, show us all this. Yeah. Yes. Simple, yeah? Why did Rafizi you mention about OSA? OSA won't throw you into the jail. This is not a document which concerns national security. This is TIA, EIA, social impact studies which affects us as residents. Public domain, for heaven's sake. If the ADUNs, the councillors, the MPs don't know, we poor rakyats are taken for a nice ride. So do something for us. Thank you.
Gentlemen, crony security is national security.
Okay, response, the last question that was posed. You're absolutely right. In fact, I've tried and I'm still trying my best to hound the minister in Parliament so that I can get more information. You know, I was more surprised than anybody else when the minister told me that this concession is for 48 years and I tweeted about it. And I think once I tweeted about it, I think, Chazwan, you latched on to it and Malay Mail Online came up with a story and then I find the Menteri Besar saying, wow, 48 years, then we better look into it. Say, you don't even know it's 48 years. You know, these are the problems, and I think this is why I said, and I came up with a very strong statement to say to the Menteri Besar, look, you've got to meet the residents, one, but you've also got to meet your ADUN and your MPs, so that you can discuss it with them before you ask us to go for a meeting with Kidex. What's the point of us going for a meeting with Kidex if we do not know what the position of the state is? So So I think it all comes back to that, as I said earlier. It really comes back to governance, it really comes back to how it is the Selangor government is handling the problem. And I think ultimately at the end of the day, it is a federal project. I know, we know that. But that does not mean that Tan Sri Khalid can just come up with answers which are absolutely unacceptable and expect the people to take it. That doesn't mean that he just says, okay, I'm going to give up without a fight. Doesn't matter what my people think, my rakyat think. We voted the government, we voted for change, we want to see them put up a fight. Simple as that. It doesn't matter if you lose at the end of the day. But show. And I think as YB Siva has said, and I think I completely agree with you, this is perhaps one of those times, this is one of those occasions when the Selangor state government can use this as a platform to explain to the people why is it they are against toll? Why is it the state should actually start looking for other alternative measures of transport? As you rightly say, you don't want to have a road coming up right in the middle of PJ because that particular space can be used for other alternative modes of transport. I agree. We are not against measures taken to improve transport. We all know Selangor, major problems. Come to Puchong, you want to talk about traffic jams. I mean, Puchong is known for traffic jams. On a Friday, you leave PJ at 5 o'clock, you reach Puchong at 7:30. That kind of ridiculous jams, yes. So one of the main things that even I am looking at, how it is you improve, how it is you solve this problem, because this is what we promise the people. Election time, you go on stage, you make all sorts of promises. After that, when you're voted in, you forget. Cannot, because these are the promises that make people elect you in. So you must keep your promises, and that is how it is. I mean, I am built that way, and I'm not going to change. As far as I'm concerned, I think we all must speak up. We must tell our government, this is why we voted for you, and this is what we expect you to do. So ladies and gentlemen, we come back again in answer to your question. Yes, at state level, I have made it very clear. I still think that the Menteri Besar should sit down with the MPs and ADUNs. I've discussed this with all the MPs and ADUNs here. I think all of us share the same view. I think there must be more transparency as to what is going on. We need to know how much information he has. We need to see this information. We need to be more appraised. So when we meet people like you, we can tell you before you tell me. I understand. I understand when this kind of thing happens. Right? But that is at state level. Let us not forget that this is also a federal project. And this is the reason why in Parliament, as far as I'm concerned, I will push on. I will keep questioning, I will keep asking, especially written questions, so they get written answers that I can actually send out to everybody, to find out exactly what it is the government is doing. Yes, they said that it is subject to this and subject to that. But that's the point, isn't it? You give a general answer and you say it's subject to this. It's subject to residents saying, okay, what does that mean? It's subject to this test. What does that mean? So at this point of time, the question which arises again is this. So then why did Pakatan go and give this preliminary approval? I asked that question. And the answer given was that normally they give this preliminary approval so that the concessioner, like Kidex here, then they actually sign the agreement so they can start the process of consultation and so forth. So that is the answer that was given. But of course, at the end of the day, we ask people whether anybody has been consulted. Everybody says, we don't even know what's going on. Alright, so let us come back to what is important. This is a project which involves people. It involves people from Puchong right until the other side of Selangor. As far as I'm concerned, the state government wants to approve it, like all the speakers here have said. Convince us that it is good. Show us the information. Tell us how it is. This is what we need to do. There are no alternatives which are better. And convince us in the long run, it will serve the people of Selangor better. Now, as I said earlier and I repeat again, I think this is a problem that we need to deal with. If we do not deal with this and how it is the state government approaches these problems, because these problems will keep coming up every now and again. That's why your government so that when a problem arises, you listen, you go down, you try and find a way to solve it. You show the people that you are there for them and that they elected you so that you could listen to them. That is what people need to see. You must inspire confidence. If we have leadership that just sits in a high office in Shah Alam and say, look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to consult, I'm not going to bother, there's no need for me to see anybody, then I think we are asking for trouble. And ultimately, I think there are many of you all former councillors, you've got Derek who just joined us as well now, lots of SMSs and emails from him. Correct, I agree, but we feel it. Because let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, when we move around, we are also questioned. I'm sure Derek, so many people come up and ask us, You don't even have to be a councillor, MP or an ADUN. Just residents. I'm sure other residents will come and ask you, look, last elections you all told us this, that and the other. Now what's happening? Ronnie Liu is smiling. He knows he gets whacked every day. You know, then he tells me about it. So that is, even now gets whacked. Yeah, still getting whacked. But that is how it works. That is what governance is about. Criticism is something that we must listen to and take seriously. Let us not become like previous governments who did not listen to criticism, resulting in which they are no longer government. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Let me go straight to the questions that were addressed to me. On Dash, the gentleman from Damansara Patala, on Dash. Now, the protest that we did together was 2 years ago. Now, and in fact, I mean, although you were quite critical in your remarks, I have no issue with that. You know, what you said. But I think it's important what you said because it helps explain another part of this whole process, which is not just relevant to Dash, it's also relevant to Kidex and the other highways, which is this. Although the Mantri Besar uses this language of approve with principle, frankly, I don't understand that approve with principle because as far as I'm concerned, there is no approval. There is no approval because there cannot be approval now. And why do I say that? Because legally, the law doesn't allow for that now. The law provides for a fairly complex but clear process of public consultation before approval. That has not happened. So when you ask what has happened in the last 2 years, nothing has happened. That process hasn't even started for Dash. It hasn't even started for Kidex. What is that proposal? What is that process? Okay. As I said earlier, this is a Barisan National proposal coming down from the federal government. They're trying to do things backwards. In other words, if it was done properly, these 7 highways, including Dash, including Kidex, should have been in the Selangor structure plan from day one. It is not in the Selangor structure plan. Not at all. So, I think the current structure plan was done about 10 years ago. About 10 years ago. Nothing there. No mention of these highways, but it should have been there. Now, under the planning law which we have, the Town and Country Planning Act, the structure plan sets the general framework. From the structure plan, you get the local plan worked out. And then within the local plan, specific areas like say in PJ, you know, the industrial area section 13 has a special area plan. That's how it works. And these must all be consistent. You cannot have something in the local plan which is not in the structure plan. So what they're doing now is it's like basically putting the cart before the horse. All this should have been put in the structure plan, and when you put in the structure plan, there's a whole public consultation process required by law, not just as policy. It's not whether we like to do it or not, the law requires it. Likewise, in the local plan, if you're going to change the local plan now, which is already made for PJ, which they have to change for Kidex and for Dash, they have to do 2 rounds of public consultation. They have to present a proposal. Before they present a proposal, they have to get views from everybody first. Then they draft the proposal. That means they will say, okay, I want to build a highway and it goes this way. They have to present that back again, get another round of views. Then it goes to the state planning committee, it goes to the local authority, and it has to be approved. That legal approval the process has not even started yet. It hasn't started. So this is what we must understand. So that process has to happen. And it hasn't even started. So when we approve, so I mean, I find the Mantri Besar's language very unfortunate when he talks about approving principle. I say, what approval is he talking about? There is no approval. Okay. Alright, so let's be clear. So that is why when you say what has happened in the last 2 years, nothing has happened. I checked with Elizabeth whether a proposal on Dash has arrived at the Exco meeting. They say no.
But why soil test?
Correct, that's the question I know. I drove out 1 week ago.
You use the toll
I agree.
They Kota Damansara every day.
I know, there's soil test. In
Why
fact,
didn't you do anything?
hang on, let me answer that.
Yeah.
There are soil tests happening, I know. I'm making that inquiry with MPPJ to say what's going on. And MPPJ has to answer. Alright? But there is no approval to build anything. There cannot be. By law. All right? So the consultation process which we have talked about is something important. It's not just policy issue, it's a legal issue. Okay, so let's be clear about that. It has to go through. For any of these highways to comply with the law, they have to amend the local plan, they have to amend the structure plan, and all has to be done. Okay, so and that process hasn't even started. So when they talk about these town hall meetings and all that is extra stuff. It is not even part of the legally mandated. Okay? All right. Now, just to conclude, because I think the others have to say their piece. When listening to the views of those who came up, you get two sets of sentiments there. One sentiment is saying, you guys have to, feed us all the information all the time. But there's a problem because we are also not getting the information part of the time. That's a fact. But the other sentiment which I saw, when I think, like say Jeffrey Fang expressed it, you must have institutionalized, forms of consultation. And actually, I agree with that. I think I prefer that. I think governance is a two-way process. So having more and institutionalized forms of consultation is fine. You must have it. It cannot be driven this way. We can't be. We are here to represent, but we are not here to decide everything. It has to work, please. Yeah. So that's just as a general comment. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much.
YB, I just want to ask YB.
Sure.
The dear Menteri Besar has done a remarkable job about Langat 2. That Langat 2 is a federal project, right? He could avert the water crisis by holding on to the federal project of Langat 2. This Kidex, there is a federal project. He could easily avert this. I don't know whether I'm right or not, but I need to have your assurance that it can be done because he has given us an example of the Langat 2 water project.
And sir, I don't know your name, but I agree completely. That's exactly the bargaining power.
What is the...
Let me answer him first. I agree. That is the bargaining power he used with Langat 2 to get the water deal, the best water deal he thought possible for the people of Selangor, which is they must hand back all the water companies back to Selangor, to a specific company KDB, at the price of 9.65 billion. He said not 1 cent more. He held on for 5 years and he was able to do that because of Langat 2. They could not pay Langat 2 without his approval.
That's right.
The land acquisition and the development of orders. I agree.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with you. And that's the same position for the other projects. Okay, just my final point. Just remember your point earlier.
Okay.
Hang on, let me respond to what you said earlier.
We haven't got the competition.
I know, but process.
YB, just one question, YB. What is the power of the rest of the ESCO members sitting in the ESCO meeting beside YB?
Okay, let the right person address that. I don't know your name.
My name is Corinne, YB.
Yeah, no, because just a brief observation, because you had said that you could not meet either of us, for the last many years. I just want to share this with you. My website is there. It states every Thursday night I'm available at my office, so I'm available tomorrow night. But in the last 6 years, I must say this, I did not see you come and visit me at that Thursday night.
Good to you, YB.
But never mind, I don't know. I'm just saying, you could just come and see me. So every Thursday night in my constituency, there's a publicized opportunity to meet me. Us is Wednesday night. So I want just you to know that and to tell that to other people who say they have a problem meeting with Sivarasa or with Elizabeth Wong. Thank you very much.
I never had a problem meeting YBs, whether it was Lim Kit Siang, P. David, Donald Lim, or anybody. Because I think I'm a big man, you see. Look at my size. No, I never had a problem. I don't have a problem with Rajiv. I tutor him. I see him if I need anything urgently. I think we have to make the effort ourselves. Okay, they all have their own offices. We have to make the effort. Maybe you find it difficult to write letters these days. It's getting off and nobody wants to write letters, but maybe, some other way. But I think they all have been. I've even seen Elizabeth Wong in our office many a times. Okay? So, YB, you want to say something?
Very short one, I think, because everyone has covered a lot. I don't think you want to hear more talk anyway. What you want to hear is what will happen after this, hopefully. The reason why I contacted David and asked for this meeting is precisely so that we can pressure more MPs and ADUNs in Selangor to make a stand the way that we do. Because I think that's important. As more and more ADUNs and MPs come forward and say that put a stop to this project and go back and consult, I hope that the state government has no choice, and Pakatan Rakyat leadership also has no choice but to take heed of that. That's going to happen. And I think that's within our means to do it, to pile up the pressure politically, so that there's an overhaul in the way that we do things. Of course, we will take it up internally as well in our party, YB Elizabeth at the state government. But that's a short term. I think hopefully when it catches up and MP actually will be more open to sit down and discuss as it should be. That's my short term and this objective of why we asked for this meeting in the first place. But I'm concerned if the process didn't change, and hence, you talk about institutionalization. Somebody talked about institutionalization. Yeah. Because Siva was right, Geobind was right. Actually, we don't know as much as you don't know. It makes, they're all second term. Rajiv and myself are first term. It's very difficult for us because we don't know. People come and ask. I actually don't know what my local government does. I have to admit that. I don't actually know as well a lot of the things that the state government decides on in my area. It's usually you guys who come to me. So I recognize that there is a big problem in the way that decisions and consultation were done. Take for example how federal projects were approved and all this issue about initial approval. There's a lot of questions about why MTES approved it in the first place. Because this is how it was done under BN for a long time. And in the case of concession, they needed the initial approval to make the project financially and commercially viable, because without it's a chicken and egg for these cronies and concession holders. Without an initial approval from the highway authority, an agency under the federal government, and initial approval of the state government, the highway is not bankable. Because the concession holder cannot go to the bank and arrange for initial financing. And the way it has been done, this so-called privatization, all the way from Mahathir's time, is the state gives initial approval subject to the next conditions and approval and so on. That's how it has been done. That's what I learned. And I have a problem. Because we then sit on a lot of hot potatoes and we have to face angry crowd like this every now and then, where we were not a part, usually more often than not, we were not aware of the decision that was done initially, because that's always the case. So that's why institutionalizing, changing the way that state governments really consult and find and making an objective assessment about what the public wants. Because you will be angry with me, and let it be, and that's where we may differ. I have to tell you, as much as there's a lot of people here who are angry and say no to any highways, I go to a different function, there are also extremely pro-highway people. So if you are in our position, we have to balance. My problem is that I don't have something that I can hold on to, that I can convince myself this is objectively what my constituents want. Because different clusters of people will say different things. Of course, in the case of Kidex, and I'm sure that and so on, by the time it reaches a certain momentum, then it becomes a different thing. But if you are a local councillor, if you are an MP, if you are an ADUN, we always face that problem so long if the consultation process stays the same way. which is an initial approval is done, by that time people are already quite divided about what or how they feel, and the MPs and ADUNs are in exactly the same level of information with the public, and that's the problem. So what I think that we will try our best, and we have to compel state government really look at how the consultation and approval process is done. There is no excuse to continue the practice of the previous government if it's quite clear by now the practice is problematic, and it's not in the spirit of what Pakatan Rakyat is supposed to be and to govern in the eyes of. So those are the two immediate action oriented that I will commit, and it's of interest to me as well. I want to make sure that not just Kidex. I come here, it's not really about a particular highway. I'm concerned if the state government, if our MD does not seem to listen to the public. That I'm concerned. That's why I offered and I contacted David and said, fine, if my MD from my party does not seem to want to come down, as a person who predominantly wrote the last manifesto, let me come in and let me at least listen and bring it back to mind. That is my biggest concern. If people think that they cannot access the government and we have a state that do not listen, and that concerns me. Of course, the issue of governing, the nitty-gritty of consultation, the process, mechanism, how exactly do you objectively say that this so-and-so parliamentary or state constituency oppose or supports a particular project? There must be a way at least to assist both the public and also the reps, the elected reps, so that we know these are the guidelines and this is how it is going to be done. It helps you, and I think it helps us, and it helps the state as well. That is the administrative part that all of us have to bring back to the party, and that to me is the kind of reform that we should impose on our government, and what the public expects the Pakatan Rakyat government to bring. And finally, as I say, I personally, when it comes to that, although I'm not a resident here, I have a problem when houses have to be demolished and it's affects so many livelihoods. We have information, for example, that there are people who support Kidex in your locality, correct? But I think we have to see objectively how much social impact it does. Especially on those really affected. And unless it really brings tremendous improvement to the traffic situation, and it really is a radical change to the way that we manage our transport and so on, I don't think it's worth it. That's my opinion about Kidex. So that's why from the very beginning, my position as an MP is that I oppose this highway. This particular highway, because it does. I know you say it's any moron can tell. Yeah, I think a lot of people may agree with that. This whole concept of building one elevated highway from one end to another, of course, it's quite difficult for us to comprehend. So that's my undertaking to you. We'll do what we can, at least to keep up the political pressure, because it is about political pressure as well. My view about the current Menteri Besar is well known. I don't have to explain. Sometimes I'm tired of being bad boy. Geobind okay lah. He's from different party. I'm from the same party. So it's not a fun job. But I waited for a while because I don't want it to be seen as if that internally we politicize it against it. I don't want detractors to say that, factions struggle come about, and because MP Pandan perhaps does not agree with the MP and therefore he takes this opportunity to fire him. That's why I keep my peace until such a time I think that the moment people start bringing up issues about manifesto, about principles, of which I am majorly responsible for, and I have to say my piece. We have to do our we have to carry out responsibility the way that we think is best, but hopefully with constant pressure and constant scrutiny, we will see a much better end to this deadlock on Kidex and all the other infrastructure projects in Selangor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, YB. YB eligible, Wong.
I think a lot of the criticisms are extremely well founded. That's my Damansara Perdana resident. Just to reiterate what Sivarasa said, you'd be surprised. Actually, we have as little information as you have. So when I think Owen came to see us 3 weeks ago, so immediately we kicked back into action, got things moving, and we are in fact trying to organize a meeting with the concessionaire. Hopefully by next week, if not early June, but the soonest. There is actually no approval, no updates on Dash at all. So if you just bear with us, go with us, our position is still the same. It should not go through Damansara Perdana. It should not go through Mutiara Damansara 7. Our initial position has been, from the very start, because thus far, we've only gotten complaints from our end that it should stop at the curb and that's it. And you shouldn't move anything more. That's principally the Dash Highway, because it's going past some of the houses, a bit similar to Kidex. There were suggestions about, criticisms about MD not meeting the people. I always believe that we have to meet the people. We are Pakatan Rakyat, we have nothing to fear. No one to throw out, no media to throw out. And, you've been very kind actually. I expected more bricks this evening. And I'm sure, as I said, MD has faced much more hostile crowds. And I don't think it's an issue. Someone said that he's a coward. I don't think so. I think he's trying to get as much information as possible. Going back very quickly on FOI, sorry, I didn't get your name. KSO. KSO. Yes, we can declassify information, but Derek here at the back, correct me if I'm wrong, and Siva and all the lawyers here. The information has to be owned by the state or co-owned by the state. I give you a very concrete example. December 2008, there was a landslide, people died, Bukit Antara Bangsa. There was a report by KKR, Federal. We got a copy. It was released to MPAJ. We released it to the public, and immediately we were threatened with, the Menteri Besar was threatened with imprisonment because we released an information which did not belong to the state. It belonged to federal government, they extended to us. However, I agree, and I think this point was also brought up by YB Rajiv. Even though we may not own the information, we brought it up, before in our own internal discussions. We may not own the information, but we must press the federal government, or at least LLM, to release the information to the public. That's what we should be doing. And if it is within our powers to release those information, and we have to do it. I understand there's not just one, but a few applications to release information, principally, if I'm not mistaken, about minutes of the meeting, where it was said that the Menteri Besar, the MTAS meeting had given principal agreement. That can be released under FOI, the enactment in Selangor. Because that's within our power, the ownership of the information is ours. So anyway, we can discuss more. Where is Wong? I will come and see you later at the end of the meeting. As Siva said, there is actually no approval. There was some confusion, which I tried to explain, but it didn't come out well earlier. If it is a public hearing, a statutory public hearing. You will have a proper notice. It is not MBPJ who will be chairing the meeting or Kidex, so on and so forth. It will be actually what we call the Public Hearing Committee. In that Public Hearing Committee, there will be X number of people, actually they are appointed ahead. It is YB Ting, YB Iskandar, YB Yunus, and I also sit on it, but because I have vested interest to represent my constituents, I have to sit out from this public meeting. So it will be chaired by this, if it ever comes to that point. Thus far, I think we still have to remember, MBPJ has not approved anything. Any councillors here? But I think YB Rajiv can attest to that. MBPJ has not approved anything. I have to, preliminary work. When talking about Kidex. So, we are going to check, in fact, we have already checked with the council what is going on there. So, as Siva said, it's not really a principal approval, but the process to get information, to consult the people is ongoing for Kidex. I'm not saying that by allowing this process to go ahead, the project will go ahead. I'm very confident, I don't know why, I don't think this project will go ahead, because from what we heard from our own councillors in MBPJ, a lot of information has not been forthcoming. The second point, which was released to us 2 weeks ago, was about the traffic impact. The reduction of traffic is negligible. I was also very shocked. And I think the person who was most shocked actually was our Menteri Besar. He didn't believe that. He said he wanted to study the documents immediately. So these are the things that I think would work in favor of the residents of Petaling Jaya. I take into account all your criticisms that this should have started much earlier. But I think together, collectively, we can stop this project together. I think that's the key point. If, let's say, we want to let federal government or PN have this crony project, then stop engaging with us. But we want to stop this project. We want to make sure that it doesn't go through Petaling Jaya. Similarly with Dash, the ending part, and also some of the other projects that have been brought up to Selangor's attention. Why do they target Selangor, everyone asks? Because this is where they make the money. This is the whole principle of toll highways. That they divert traffic, they do not reduce traffic. Finally, Charles, because you talk about recycling and all this stuff, I absolutely agree with you. Unfortunately, it's not under my purview, it's under the purview of local council. But I'll come and discuss with you how we can approach that together with YBT. There will be a new bylaw, a new set of enactments, to do with waste management, and recycling is a major part of it. But since you brought up about environment, so why you talk to things, I don't know. I don't want to discuss about that. But since we discussed about environment, one person came up to me, the ADUN for Ijuk, Dr. Idris. His daughter is also an environment consultant, and she also reminded that this is a major, it's going to be very problematic environmentally for Petaling Jaya. I think the situation now is already quite unbearable in terms of traffic and the number of cars that we have all around Petaling Jaya, and to have more on top of us, it will be really, really bad. So on that point, I think on an environment impact assessment, I don't think there will be good things to be said about this. And that document, thus far we've only gotten the preliminary EIA, and this is not even the actual EIA yet, and it's not really showing good results. So I think bear with us in this process, and I think collectively, there are also other representatives who cannot be with us this evening, especially from Petaling Jaya. I believe that everyone here is solidly against this highway in Petaling Jaya. Thank you.
the last word of the night. Geobind tells me to go faster. I think everything has been said by the previous speakers. We definitely realize the flaws in the approval process, the flaws in the consultation process. These are all very clear. We need to move forward. We need to formulate ways to make sure that this does not happen again. That is to deal with further infrastructure projects to come. With Kidex, we have a very proactive team on the ground. I salute you. I'm happy to work with you. We've been working together. We've been meeting one big group and many times among smaller groups, especially Mr. Tan, Mr. Selva, Dr. Mohan is missed him here tonight. David also. With regards to one of the questions early on in the night, this was not a case where we held back information. In fact, key information along the way was brought up as soon as we found out. When the things was gazetted, it was first reviewed by ourselves that highlighted people of the 3,000 over lots that is going to be affected, and people came forward to check. When the presentation made by Kidex to MPPJ was done, within the night, we had the presentation brought forward, and I remember the meeting in Greenview Restaurant where the members who attended back then were enlightened as to what, that was when we first saw the alignment that Kidex is proposing, because prior to that, we didn't even have the alignment, we just had the lot numbers to go with. Some people plotted the lot numbers on the map to try to guess where the alignment was. With the traffic impact assessment, the preliminary one, it took a lot of pressuring, but when we pressured for months, they finally released it in May to MPPJ. It was us, ADUNs again, that highlighted it to the committee, to the media, and you see this information coming up. I hope you have a bit of faith left in us, that we will continue to speak up on your behalf. I hope you have a little bit of faith in us, that we will continue to reveal information as and when we get it. We know we don't have everything. We should. LLM shouldn't hold back. The Minister of Works shouldn't classify any of these documents as secret. It shouldn't be. It absolutely is of no national defense level security that it has to be classified secret. So we'll keep the pressure up. The Minister of Works must declassify all these documents, not just to MPPJ, not just to the Selangor government, not just to me as an ADUN, but it must declassify for everyone, including all of you here, for you to take it back home, study, read it, and give your feedback. And if things look as bleak as the initial TIA, I don't see a chance of Kidex taking off. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, on all your behalf, let me thank all the YBs here today. We've been very gracious to host them today. Please hold on for a while. We've got a few important announcements. The first one, we'd like to request the YBs to take a message to the Menteri Besar that we are very gracious hosts. We will host him. We will host the Menteri Besar. Again, because we want to meet him. He's our Menteri Besar. We must meet him. Please let him know we are very gracious hosts. We would like to host him. And to quote, the say no to Kidex resident engineer. If this project is cancelled and if Kidex goes away, taking 10% of the 2.2 billion, that's a hefty profit for them. That is also cronyism. We are against that also. David,
it's almost 12. I'll be very, very brief, I promise. But I think since I started the proceedings tonight, it is only polite and proper that I end tonight's proceedings. I thank all the YBs again. I'd like to particularly mention YB Rajiv because he had a private conversation with me. And this has relation to what I started, that tonight is, I believe, a success as far as getting our YBs to listen to us. It's a big stride forward in the processes of being consulted, in the process of being heard. And I mentioned YB Rajiv because I was reminded by him that way back in September, it was in fact him and Councillor Engineer Lee Xuan Sen who first passed the information to Section 19 that allowed us and the SNCK Pro Tem Committee to be formed and did what we did. Yeah, so special thanks to him, of course, the other YBs. And numerous thanks have been passed on to me and Mark. I really like to concede all those credits to the many other members. It's just that we are the faces always in front, but the whole team worked so hard. So thank you so much. And along the way, the friends and the associates, you'll be amazed how many people are calling us and contributing opinions and all that. And thank you very much. And I don't think I need to sum up except to say what the YBs have basically said. It's about due process to be compliant. It's about consultation of the people. Not only just consultation, as one learned guest said, is to be institutionalized processes so that this consultation process can be carried out effectively. And one last bit for the YBs, if you don't mind, because I've heard also invariably from many YBs, YB Rafizi, if I may draw your attention to this, we have heard, the committee has heard from various YBs that there are people who want highways. Right? I only speak for Kidex because I know Kidex very well, or we know Kidex very well. If you can pave the way, introduce those people who say yes to Kidex. We'd love to do a presentation on the facts they have unearthed from the PIA and various other things about connectivity and share with these people, especially YB Gobi. We were actually meaning to consult you how to get to the people in Puchong and explain to them, no, it doesn't connect to Puchong. Subang Jaya as well. Yeah. So on that note, again, thank you very much for staying, especially those of you who stayed this late. Thank you again to the YB. Thank you, YB Rafizi.